We're very fortunate to have Ileana Ros-Lehtinen, Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen, who's chairwoman of the House International Committee on Foreign Affairs, and she has a schedule, as you can imagine, that's daunting, as most members do today. We have had a long relationship with Ileana. Many of you probably know that she was actually born in Cuba and escaped in the early 1950s, and as a result, she has a strong sense of human rights. She knows what it's like to live in very, very difficult conditions, and she's brought that to her work in the House. She also happens to be married to someone who fought in the Vietnam War, another historic time in our history. She's worked together with us in trying to bring lasting peace and stability to the Balkans. She was the winner of our Balkans Peace Award about 5 years ago, and we'd like to welcome her to the stage now to make brief remarks. Welcome her.
Joe and Shirley are a power couple, are they not? My golly, give them a hand. And they're so gracious in accommodating my schedule. My dad's elderly and in not the best health, so I'm going to fly home and fly back. But keep him in your prayers, and I would be so honored. But I would not leave today without first coming here. So I told my scheduler, yes, get me on a plane, but first I need to come speak to Joe and Shirley's group, because to me this subject has got some real significance. As you heard from Shirley and Joe, I chair the Foreign Affairs Committee, and we deal with these kinds of issues all day long. But it's so significant that we're building bridges between communities, and to see this bridge building between the Jewish and Albanian people that has been going on for many a year. But the fact that you're highlighting it and books have been written about it, it's time to get the word out so that more of the population knows that Albanians stepped up when the going was tough. There was the Albanian people. So thank you for everything that you've done. And of course, we're here to celebrate Albania's independence and the courage and the compassion that the Albanian people have always demonstrated, even under the most terrible conditions. And I must point out before I continue that my colleague, I served with Connie Morella for many a year in the United States Congress. Connie, Ambassador Morella, who's got deep roots to Albania, is here with us. But I'm especially pleased to be here with Joe and Shirley, who have done so much to ensure that Albania receives the recognition and the support that it deserves, that it has earned. And 100 years ago today, the people of Albania issued their Declaration of Independence after centuries of oppression by the Ottoman Empire. Unfortunately, Albania's hard-won freedom was nearly overwhelmed by a succession of new occupiers, including secret plans by the victors of World War I to partition it. Those plans were thwarted only by the determination of the people of Albania to fight for their freedom, and also by the direct intervention of President Woodrow Wilson, who laid the foundation for the strong connection between our two countries that continues to this very day. But even then, Albania's fight was not over. Large numbers of Albanians were left outside of the new borders, with deadly consequences in Kosovo and elsewhere in the Balkans. During World War II, Albania was invaded and occupied first by Italian and then by German forces. For decades after the war, Albania was dominated by a brutally repressive communist dictatorship that turned the entire country into a virtual prison. But the determination of the Albanian people to be free has never wavered, regardless of the cost. 20 years ago, the Albanian people overthrew their communist rulers and slowly and painfully began the reconstruction of their country. Who would have believed that Albanians would so quickly have become a democracy, a full member of NATO, and a strong ally of the United States? The impossible happened once again, but the Albanian people have never been intimidated by the impossible. Even as it suffered under a brutal occupation, Albania became one of the handful of places in Europe in World War II that sheltered Jews from their own country, as well as from other lands, thereby saving them from certain death at the hands of the Nazis. It takes great bravery to defend oneself and one's family against seemingly overwhelming force, but even more to act on behalf of one's countrymen and other families. To shelter complete strangers at such a terrible risk? Imagine the courage that it took, the compassion and the humanity that it took. And that is virtually unheard of. And it places the Albanian people in a very rare category indeed. And this little-known story of courage and compassion has never received the broader recognition that it deserves, which is why today's event is so welcome and so important. And that is why I am honored and privileged to be here today to celebrate with you the endurance of the remarkable people and the example that you have set for the world. But Albania's struggle is not yet over. For the partitions of its land and people continue to have deadly consequences for the region, including Kosovo. She will need allies to overcome the enormous obstacles that she confronts. And that is why I will continue to work in Congress to strengthen the U.S. alliance with Albania and to ensure that the Albanian people will never again face the world alone. For I am proud to call myself a friend of this heroic people. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you.